came over, you're an immigrant, and I assume that your family and yourself was kind of chasing what they call the American dream.
Yes.
And I feel like, your story really symbolizes what the American dream is from start to finish. Because you guys came, with hardly anything. And then you've built, obviously, now we run an extremely successful company. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Roof Talk. We're coming at you live on Facebook today, and we have another special guest. He is our original founder and CEO of the original Daniel's Roofing, Mr. Daniel Palanchik himself.
Yes, sir.
Welcome on, Daniel. And I know you kind of had this idea before of kind of doing something similar to this, and it's an honor to finally have you on as one of our guests. So
yeah, this is actually a dream of mine that I never had time or energy for, because it was already, my energy and time was already taken up with actually running and building and just chasing everything. So I am just incredibly privileged to actually see this fulfilled. What you guys done with this studio, with this program, with the podcast, it's incredible. It's amazing. I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be part of it. And I am here 100% to promote it, support it, and just watch it grow even more to benefit more homeowners. Incredible.
Yeah, and I know we've talked, a little bit, off camera a little bit about how awesome it is, and the things we're able to bring to the community, and it's been honestly really cool to see all this take place, and I'm happy to kind of dive into this and give the people, kind of the background of Daniel and Daniel's Roofing. So I'll just jump in, with a few questions here for you.
Yes, sir.
So let's kind of take it back a little bit. And I know we've talked personally, but the people at home don't know this kind of stuff. Right. So what got you into roofing initially? Kind of when did that journey start for you?
Well, so hey, Dan, the roofing man with you.
There we go.
Fred Dawkins actually got me started on that. He said, he's like, hey,
over
Dan
at
the
106?
roofing man. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, he's the one that kind of mentioned that, and it kind of stuck, and it's a good thing, But what happened is over 20 years ago, I was a little younger, just got married. I had a company where we did landscaping, tree service, pressure washing, different things. Anyways, I was helping people. So biggest thing is I was there helping people.
And this was in Florida, right?
This was in Florida.
Florida, okay.
Probably 2003 area, 2002.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, what happened was in about 2 to 3 weeks total time in Polk County, Florida, we had 3 hurricanes come through, cross paths. So what happened is a lot of these customers that knew me personally, they had their roofs blown off.
Mm-hmm.
And, roofers were far in between, hard to find. Everything was backed up. People's roofs were leaking. So they would like, hey, Daniel, can you come tarp this roof for me? I'm like, sure, I can do that. So I went and tarped these roofs because, biggest lesson in this is you serve a need, you serve the public, you serve the customers. And that's what I did because that's where the need was. So I went, tarped a bunch of roofs of people that I already knew, and fine and dandy. A lot of people were dry, happy, temporarily, but that can't go forever. So as the roofers were hard to find because of the amount of need needed for the area, they kind of called on me and said, hey, Daniel, maybe you can come and fix this roof and maybe replace this roof. So I was not a roofer. But I'm like, you know what? Why not? Why can't I? So I had to figure out what I needed to do. I had to, internet was not, at least not in my life back then, was not that popular. So I couldn't just look at
20 years ago, we had dial-up.
So I went to the store. I looked at the packages. I looked at the instructions. Yeah. I asked around. And I figured out how to put these roofs on. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of how it started. And I've helped one person, they were happy, helped another, maybe another, did a few repairs along with some new roofs. And it's like, well, I guess this is our, brand new need that we need in our area. So that's how I became essentially a roofer overnight.
Yeah. Were you called Daniel? Did you have like an actual LLC back then, or?
I had a I had a company back then. It was called Dolphin All, because in
Did not know
Florida
that.
everything is dolphins, and my wife loved dolphins.
Yeah.
So it used to be called Dolphin Lawn Care, Tree Service, and Pressure Washing.
Yeah.
And then we started to do additions and porch repair and different things for people, basically like handyman service in a way, and remodeled bathrooms, different things. So I got tired of saying all those big things, so we just became Dolphin All.
Yeah.
So in Florida, I was Dolphin All, and it had a pretty good brand. People liked what we did, and it caught on, and people were happy, and we did very well, during that time in our life in that area. So we've done a lot of work, under that name. This was over 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were in Florida doing all that, and you had obviously you were doing a lot of different services back then.
Yes.
But then, so I want to take it from there and let's fast forward. So you moved up here. You started Daniel's Roofing in like 2015, right?
That is correct.
Yep. So you moved up here. You started Daniel's Roofing in 2015, and you kind of condensed all that down. You got rid of all the handyman type stuff for the most part, right?
Well,
And
yeah,
you,
actually,
you honed it in on just roofing, correct?
yes. In Florida, I actually became roofing, Dolphin All Roofing.
Okay. So you're doing
okay.
roofing.
Yeah,
Yep.
it changed it to roofing, and we've put on a lot of roofs back there. A lot of it was family. My wife was up there on the roofs with me, way into the dark, throwing
That
shingles
poor
to me.
woman.
Yeah, she helped me a bunch. So it was all hands on. My brother was involved. It was all mostly family, relatives, friends, just anybody I could gather and gather up to get some additional help. And a lot of shingled roofs that we've done back then. And so we've installed a bunch of roofs there. And then we moved to Tennessee for a little bit. 2005 area. I was there for about a year. I put on a few new roofs on the houses that we purchased because I've done some house flipping. I tried to do some roofing for people, but the market was not responsive for some reason. I put signs out, and in Tennessee, I did not become popular as far as installing roofs. Maybe it's because I was just simply busy with some of the houses we had.
Yeah.
I think we had like 17 houses at one time there.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite a few.
But then, like a year later, we moved here
Mhm.
kind of unexpectedly because of the lake that we purchased. The
Shout out to
campground.
Whippoorwill.
Yes. So we've been here since 2006, 2007. And in 2014, 15, one of the people that worked at the lake was doing a side job. And they went to repair a porch on the roof. And they didn't know how to do it, but somehow they found out that I had some roofing experience.
Mhm.
So I went and helped them. And, it was going to be a disaster, but we turned it into a success. People were happy. I helped that gentleman do a side job. And then Billy Castillo come around.
Oh, gosh.
Nice
Oh,
guy,
really?
volunteer firefighter. And I just met him. He come to our lake, and he's like, yeah, Daniel, we're doing construction here. We're doing this and that. He's showing his little book of all the jobs he's done.
Yeah. He still has that book.
Yeah,
He's,
and
he's
he's-
whipped that thing out in front of me.
And he's done a
he
lot of
showed me
jobs,
that
you know?
same
Started.
book.
So, and he mentioned, maybe your service would be needed here too. And I got to thinking, you know what? Why not? I'm still
Yeah.
a roofer. Because we was out in the country. Marble Hill area is kind of a country area, and it's like, well, who in the world's going to need a roof here? But our first signs I hand painted. I actually took my old signs from Florida.
Mhm.
I hand painted over them.
Oh, so they're all like wooden signs?
Well, they're different kinds. Just whatever I could gather up for no money.
Yeah.
And I've hand painted a bunch of signs, and I put a bunch of signs out, and people slowly started to call.
Yeah.
And at first, it was a challenge because I didn't exactly have the right crews. I
Yeah.
kind of gathered people.
Yeah. Tell us about that kind of first year that
Well,
when you started Daniels.
It was rough because our help was not experienced, and I had to kind of train them along the way. I had to go find roofs, keep them busy, go back and forth. And back then, roofs would take us 2, 3, 4 days
Oh,
and I
man.
couldn't sleep at night because I was worrying about the rain coming in. Did the
Mhm.
guys cover it all up good? The part they didn't finish, is it going to get wet? I mean, there's all these nightmares, all these things that we now take for granted because our crews, complete roofs in 2-3 hours tops, 5
Yeah.
hours at the most for
Yeah,
these
yeah.
big jobs. But then it would take us 5 days, 3 days, 4 days on the big roof. So there's a lot of stress going on when you have a roof that's not fully covered
Mhm.
because you've got part of it off, you've got tarps, you've got so many moving aspects, so many moving things, and very stressful. And some of the things we originally did, sometimes they would fail because of the people we had helping us, and I had to go back and put a bunch of fires out. I had to make it right.
Mhm.
It was a challenge. It was a fight because I knew I had to keep customers happy.
Mhm.
I had to keep them smiling, and I had to do whatever it takes to get it right. And that was the challenge because sometimes I had to do the same work twice. But I knew for longevity, for the right thing to do, is you do whatever you have to do, you got to make it right. And that's
Yeah.
what we did.
I know you
And
talked about the struggle of that, especially in the early
yeah,
days with a lot of the issues you
now
had. And
we take our crews right now for granted because the crews we have right now is just incredible. These guys
Mhm.
are like top notch. We have the best crews around. And I'm not saying that because they're our crews, but I'm saying that because I do know I have experience now
Mhm.
and I can look around and I can see the quality of the work we have. Are we perfect? Of course not. Do we make mistakes? Sure, we do. But a lot of times, the big difference between a good roofer and a bad roofer is a bad roofer will, if there's a problem, they're going to ignore it. They're going to not answer that call because they're seeing that customer call. They're
Mhm.
going to avoid the problem and run from it. A good roofer will go back and do whatever it takes to make it right to keep customers happy.
Yeah.
And that's what we've tried to do to the best of our ability from the beginning.
Yeah. No. Exactly.
So,
So out of that first year, how many houses do you think you had to go back to? Like, if you did say 50 houses that year, did you go back to 50%? I mean, was
well, the
it
first year we didn't do 50 houses, but um, no, it wasn't that bad. But we did
okay?
we did have to go back every so often and take care of things,
I
which
got
we
you.
still do now,
Yeah.
to a degree. But it seems like maybe it was just all thrown at me because at first it's like, okay, you're trying to get this thing off the ground, and then, man, you got a little leak here, and you got this ain't looking right. We had to go back and make it right.
Yeah.
And that was a challenge because you're trying to juggle that between brand new work and then still having to go back and make sure that you
Right.
get it right.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Like, since I started the production manager role, right at a year ago to
Mhm.
now, the amount of advances in the material itself is nuts to me. And I can only imagine back then you had architectural shingles were just now really starting to become the thing, right?
Yes.
So I mean, you
Yes.
guys didn't have the material that we have now, which
And they were using
probably
the old.
didn't help.
They had the old paper felt.
Yeah.
You weren't,
Yes,
you weren't
that
Did
is
you guys still
correct.
synthetic.
use
Synthetic was kind of brand new,
right?
Yeah.
in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, we're still tearing roofs off. Now that
Oh
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
mostly paper felt underneath them.
So we definitely had our challenges, but at the end of the day, if you want something bad enough, you're going to figure it out, and
For sure. Yeah.
and that's what um, I seen the need, and I seen the people smile when the roofs look great. They were happy, and it's like we can do this, and once you first help few people, it's like you can repeat the process, and
For
we've
sure.
done it.
Now, do you remember your first, like when you got up here? Do you remember like that first job you sold?
Yeah, I do remember. I do remember a shingled roof for some folks in Cape Girardeau that we put
Oh,
on.
so your first one was in Cape.
First shingled roof, yes.
Oh, okay, I assumed
Uh,
it'd be kind of out there, Marble
yeah,
Hill. Or
but we did do a lot of metal roofs out in the Marble Hill area too. In fact, we done a lot of metal roofs when we first started because it was well, it still is a good product, but for us, since we didn't have the big crew, it
yeah,
was more manageable because we didn't have to tear everything off all at once, so we could take 2, 3 guys and get a roof done.
Yeah, so you were running a much smaller crew back
Yes,
then.
we
Yeah,
done.
Now we have 8, 9 guys on a roof
Yes,
at a
no, we
time.
had
So-
like
or
we had-
more
we had
sometimes.
quite a
3,
few.
4 guys at the max back then.
Yeah,
Much different.
that's a
So,
challenge.
But we've done really, all things considered, we've been blessed, privileged, and done really well, helping a lot of people.
Looking back on the early days versus now, did you ever think you were gonna get Daniel's Roofing to the level it is now?
Well, no, my original vision definitely was not exactly like this. It was basically one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time. In fact, even a few years into the making of the Daniel's Roofing Company, I remember when I started buying bulk products,
Right.
I remember having the products either delivered to my house or I went picked them up by the pallets. And I had to consider, do I go ahead and get a pallet? Are we going to, because this was also around COVID time. I didn't know
Mhm.
what was going to happen right before COVID. So I would buy these products because it would be cheaper to buy them by the bulk, which we still do that today.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't sure if I'm going to go through the pallets. I would buy one out of pallet at a time. And it's like, man, I went through the whole pallet. I guess I get another one.
Yeah.
And it's,
I know when, and I'm kind of getting ahead here, but I know whenever I first came on board, that was some conversations we still had. You're like, I don't know if I should buy, because you're thinking,
yeah,
hey,
so
this
now we're
thing,
doing truckloads.
you're thinking, hey, this, we might close down 2 weeks from now, so I don't know if I should buy, 5 pallets of felt. He's like that. So
Well,
I remember,
it's like it was a question, well, if I don't use it all up, can I take it back? Well, no, because it was purchased by bulk order,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I guess I could use it. But, it's like we just kept on plowing through and we keep going through it.
I think
Yeah.
I think now if I order a bulk buy, I think they just send a whole truck. Like I order
Yeah,
like
it's a
4
lot.
pallets of everything.
yeah,
So,
yeah, it's
but
crazy how
this
that's,
bulk buy saves our customers money.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course, it saves us money, but basically what it also means we can pass the savings on to the customer.
for sure. Yeah, no, that's definitely good. So back in the early days, what's like some, I know you touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the biggest challenges you faced, running a new company? What are some of like the biggest problems you had on those early days?
Well, the biggest problems that I probably would consider facing back then was multitasking everything. I had to
Because you were
leave-
by yourself. I mean,
yeah,
running
I
the
had to
company, it
leave
was all on
early
you.
in the morning. Took the boys to school, and then I would have a trailer with me. I would take a trailer with me to a job, or I already had one the night before, and then I would find myself running lots of estimates, visiting a lot of people in between. I would drive for hours at a time with many stops. I would pull side of the road, order materials on the phone or text, do a lot of writing, a lot of estimates, a lot of phone calls. And then I knew about 2, 3, 4 o'clock or something, the guys would almost be done with one job. I had to run, pick up the trailer, and then I already had to have another trailer pre-staged at another job. So basically, it's multitasking to the extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would come home, late at night, and I would just do this 5, 6 days a week. It
That's
just,
awesome.
yeah.
That's a
and,
lot. I know. I know you told me about it, and
Yeah,
I've
because the production and everything that we do now, of course, we do more business, but there's probably 5 or 6 guys that are doing what I did back then.
Mhm.
Different scale, but there's a lot of challenges being a lot of hats in one person.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. So looking back, is there anything you wish you would have done different from the start versus like trying to slowly step up? Do you think you would have just took that plunge and just changed immediately from the start and it would have run smoother?
Well, I mean, it sounds good to be able to do that, but in reality, sometimes to build a business, you have to start at the bottom
Right.
and you have to build the foundation. I had to go visit these roofs. I had to go
Right.
visit these customers. I had to go through all the challenges. That way I could learn the whole process. I could learn the products. I could learn the customers' needs, the challenges that go with it. So in a sense, I don't think I would be able to change a whole lot, except maybe getting Anthony involved a little quicker. That would have helped a bunch,
Right.
you know. But that was a challenge too, because I didn't think that this young man was going to be capable of. I couldn't see it because there was so much information in my head that I didn't know if I was capable of portraying that information to him to help us do what we do.
How long were you kind of, because you were doing obviously the job of 10 people at once.
Yes.
And a lot of the guys today, they don't, most of the people we have with us now didn't see that. Even when I first came on, I was kind of doing that as well. You kind of passed the torch and you were like, hey, I'll give you a few hats here and just,
yes.
here you go.
But you've done
Figure it out.
You've done amazing.
And it's a lot. I don't know how you were, because back when I came on board, I wasn't driving the truck or pulling the trailer. And I was just doing like the sales and the production and trying to run the company side, which was a lot. I mean, those are 16-hour days.
Yes.
So I don't know how in the world you managed to make sure the trailer is where it's supposed to be and make sure the materials are there. And I mean, it's a lot. I mean, that's commendable, honestly. So
and the crews we had, these guys were hungry for work. They wanted to work.
Oh, and they still are. I mean, these guys are like, hey, give us some roofs. We're like, we're trying.
One roof a day was not going to cut it.
No.
They needed to do 2 or 3 roofs per day, and that was the challenge. If I could just do a roof one a day, I mean, it wouldn't be so bad. But these guys, they got 9, 10, sometimes 16 people on the crew. They have to have enough work. So you've got to be able to logistically put all that together, and that was the challenge. And in fact, when I had some family emergencies, I had to leave the countries for a while. And that was a challenge, running a company from overseas for 2-3 weeks at a time and still keep it going. At first it was when you weren't around, and then later you come along and it was so much easier.
But, because I know we didn't ask that early on, but for the people at home that don't know, obviously your name's a little unique. So
I'm from Poland.
You're from
Originally
Poland,
Poland.
Right. And your family immigrated here when you were.
I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 10 years old, and then I graduated in '95 in Polk County, Florida, and then I went into the Navy from '95 to '98. So I served in the U.S. Navy for 3 years, and we were doing a lot of drug operations back then too.
Well, hey, they're starting that up again. So I've been seeing the news.
Just doing it a little bit different now.
Yeah.
So that's what we used to do is chase these go fast boats.
Yeah.
With helicopter and Coast Guard on board, and
it's a big topic right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been. I don't watch the news as much as I maybe should, but I try to shy away from that a little bit. But there's a lot of that going on.
I didn't know that's what you did.
Yeah, I did.
I didn't have a clue, honestly. I knew you served in the Navy.
Yeah, I was a bosun's mate on the ship.
Yeah,
but
I never knew that.
But that's just that's one of our missions that we were involved in.
So basically, you've witnessed some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, in fact, there was one time we detained some detainees that had a lot of illegal drugs on board. We were ordered to bring those drugs on board of our ship for whatever reason back then it was, and then the captain or whoever was in charge ordered to get rid of all the drugs, so they had to cut all the bundles of white powder.
Wonder what that was.
Yeah.
Imagine
No
what that
clue.
was. So they threw that overboard, and there was a bunch of dolphins behind the ship.
That's where the dolphins roofing came from.
And those dolphins were wild.
I bet.
They were doing some flips. So I assume maybe that powder had something to do with it.
Oh my gosh!
So
I'm
a bunch of
surprised they just had you
happy
guys dumping
dolphins.
it.
Yeah, they had us dump it overseas.
But the parties on the
I bet the
Ship
coral
were pretty
reef
crazy
was
there.
having. I bet the coral reef in the ocean was having a grand time.
That's awesome. I wanted to touch on that a little bit though, just to show people, because I always think that's awesome. You came over, you're an immigrant, and I assume that your family and yourself was kind of chasing what they call the American dream.
Yes.
And I feel
yes.
like, your story really symbolizes what the American dream is from start to finish. Because you guys came, with hardly anything.
Well,
And then you've built, obviously, now we run an extremely successful company.
sometimes I say, because I feel like I'm an American because of what America stands for. My dad came here. He loved God, and he knew that he experienced the people here in America. Majority of them are Christians, Christ-like. They love God. They made him feel very good in that area, and he also experienced that they were proud to love God. And
Was it not like that in Poland, or
actually, no, back then it was
no?
kind of something you didn't talk about. Some
Okay.
countries are like that, but here in America, this country is founded on God, and that's what is beautiful about America. And I tell a lot of times to people, sometimes I'm more American than someone that's born here, because someone that's born here may take this for granted
Mm-hmm.
because they're just here. I chose to be here, because I've been back to my country where I was born
Which is
many
beautiful there,
times.
by the way. I mean,
Yes,
I've seen some of the
that's where
photos.
a lot of family lives and stuff. But I still choose to live here because I feel like America is maybe not perfect, but it's still the best country in my opinion.
Yeah. I
So
think there is something to be said there because I've noticed a lot of, especially immigrants, I feel like a lot of immigrants run a lot of our companies, a lot of like the
Oh, yeah.
stores. They come over here chasing the American dream and they work their butts off and they really make something of it. And I think a lot of times, when you're born here, like you said, you can take it for granted. And you
yes,
see people just sitting back and like getting government assistance. And I'm not saying that's all bad. Some people
yeah,
need that help.
sometimes they need help.
But a lot of people take the opportunities that we have in America for granted. And I've noticed a lot of people from overseas come over and they really capture that opportunity and make something out of it. And you're a testament of what's possible in America. Now, obviously, we can do more and we can always be better. But I feel like what you've done throughout your life has been pretty commendable. And we have a great thing going here. But as far as the company goes, let's say so you got everything started. You had obviously a growing demand from your crews, and you started to pick up some popularity in the community. And obviously, you had some hardships and things like that. But then things started to probably 5 years ago, maybe things started to kind of really blow up, right?
Yes, we became popular. People liked our services, and they called on us, and we did a lot of roofs. We were doing, even back then, um, we were doing 2 to 3 roofs per day on the summer day when
Yeah.
the hours were long. In the winter, no, it was more like one or maybe 2 roofs, depends.
Mm-hmm.
But many days we've done 2 to 3 roofs every single day, Monday through even Saturday. Um, so we were very busy. We were helping a lot of people, and the problem I experienced in my life was that I was losing my energy.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting slowly burnt out. I loved the concept. I loved helping people, but there's just so much you can do for so long. Um, Plus, I have a family, so it's like, well, you juggle things for so long before you realize, what value do you have in life? What is important?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, we all have to work. We do need to work, and I still work. Um, but sometimes you can go extreme in one area and then leave out other things in life at jeopardy. And my wife even mentioned to me, say, hey, Daniel, you're doing great financially. We've been blessed. We've paid off a lot of debt,
Mm-hmm.
and we're financially in a good situation. Maybe it's time to slow down a little bit because our boys are growing up, and having to miss them from sun up to sundown every single day for 6 days a week is just too much.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, and that you can't get that time back.
No. So, and that's why I feel like, every time I was even talking to a contractor or anyone, David Boyer, which actually, or Secretary Diana, he was pouring some concrete at my house, and he's like, and I was trying to explain what I want done because I was just so busy, but I could not get a full sentence in because I was constantly on the phone. And you've experienced that too
Oh,
when you
yeah.
came to help on my garage. I was on the phone constantly. So I couldn't get a full sentence. I couldn't get my whole statement out, and somebody would call. And David's like, you know what? Because I just kind of bluntly said, I need a secretary.
Yeah.
And he goes, Daniel, if you're really serious about that, I got somebody in mind. I'm like, you do? He goes, yeah, my wife. I'm like, oh, really? And I kind of got frightened because it's like, whoa, wait a minute.
You're not used to hiring people, so now
I've
all
never
of a
had a
sudden,
secretary. I just said that, but I guess he's serious. I said, okay, well, I guess why don't we be up with her and talk to her,
Mhm.
And I tell you, man, she's been a blessing. She's done tremendous. She's done good. And then
she's probably watching the live right now,
Probably.
just smiling ear to ear.
Diana,
Probably.
good job, Diana. And David, appreciate that you
So
recommended your wife.
So it was like everything stacked on top of each other, kind of forced you to
Yes.
step out of your comfort zone and
Well,
actually
and
hire
then
somebody
my wife
else.
was telling me to slow down
I got you.
or just stop altogether. And I'm a firm believer, like, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Right.
okay, I can go, but then if I cannot do it right, I don't want to do it anymore. So it was either grow or quit, one of the two.
Yeah. I remember that conversation you and I had. So I know you had already hired Diana. She'd been with you for a little bit, but you were still at the point where you're like, hey, I have two options. I can either bring someone on to help me, or I'm gonna have to hang it up because it can't sustain this
and
any longer.
It got so hard sometimes just mentally because you're just like what Zane's doing and Grant's doing and Diana's doing and all the crews, everything was going like through my mind of every single little detail on every single roof. Like every pipe boot, every drip edge. Did I get the right color? Did I order the right shingle? Was that really the right color that they wanted? Was this the right house?
Yeah.
So many things were going through my mind constantly. So I was talking to people, but my mind was on the roof somewhere. Mentally, I was on the roof all the time, constantly. And so, to a point, I could not mentally or physically continue long term the way I was going. But so I was kind of given a cruise that, I'm going to be kind of slowing down a little bit. And my crews are smart. They were smart. They came and talked to my wife one day, and they said, hey, to my wife, we'd like to work longer. Don't stop yet.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, they knew what to do. They went to, yeah,
because you were, I think by this point
I was pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, if Daniel's going to continue, he's going to have to get help. And that's where Diana, that's where James Rice and Chris and some of the salespeople came along, and Billy, even he's done some roof estimating for me while I was out of the country. So that's where we started to slowly build teams.
Yeah.
And then some of the CRM system came in place where we could actually.
Yeah, because I remember, which I guess we don't have to talk about our CRM we use, but
no.
I know that was very fresh.
Yes.
Because I seen, when I first came around, I saw, and actually you do really well at this, better than I ever probably could have, but you kept everything, all of your estimates and your invoices and your job photos. I saw your stacks, like you have it all printed off. You had it all labeled and organized month to month.
Very old school.
But I'll say, a lot of people wouldn't do that. They would just kind of just stack everything
Yeah,
up.
boxes and boxes.
Now
of
your office was
customers.
crazy to look at because there was so much because you did so much work. But I would say you did a really good job before the CRM, just keeping it all organized, and you still have all that, which is really nice. But man, it's such a blessing to have like the technology now to where you can just kind of plug it all in.
Yes, because you can multitask better with more people.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that on.
Well, yeah, because I couldn't
paper.
come.
No.
I couldn't just come to your house and look up an old contact
Right.
every single time we needed it. So
So
that was a blessing.
But that's just the way I knew. But I knew to grow and to be able to share information with our company internally,
Mhm.
I had to have a CRM. And that was a challenge because, I mean, you guys know even right now it's a challenge because
Oh,
they keep
yeah.
changing and updating.
Continuously, yeah.
Well,
The updates.
I
really
was
kill it.
never perfectly exactly good at computers
Mhm.
to a degree where I could just run with it. So I remember it took me, I mean, it was bad
Mhm.
because I had to figure it out. And the CRM we used, I mean, I was so kind of upset with them in the sense it was hard discipline.
Yeah.
I wanted them to set it up for me, and they would not. They would not. They said, "We'll help you, we'll show you, but we cannot take that responsibility. We cannot set it up for you. We cannot see the data as far as, inputting information and
Mm.
things." So I was on the phone. I was like for 3 days straight trying to figure out how to make this thing work.
Mhm.
And it was a challenge.
And heck, here 3 years later, we're still trying to tweak it and make the boards,
Oh, yeah.
make our things flow properly, and
Yes.
it's a continuous. And if you're by yourself, it's almost impossible to do all that.
So yeah, I remember many hours and hours trying to like figure this technology out to make this thing work. And I finally got it where we could, use it, and then of course everything changes. So
Mhm.
one thing you learn, it changes all the time.
Yeah. So, what were some of your biggest fears? Whenever you were obviously, because I remember when I came on, I still remember that. So, what were some of your biggest fears on handing, quote unquote, handing the reins over to someone else? Because you'd been kind of relying on yourself for so long.
Yes, well, the biggest challenge in my brain back then I had was all this information, experience, and knowledge that I had. I didn't know. I mean, I knew people did it. I just didn't know if I could portray it enough for someone to actually take it over and
Mhm.
help with this to make sure it goes right. And because it's people's roofs, a lot of details. And I was just like afraid of things going wrong.
Yeah.
And, but I mean, I'll tell you, I am very, I knew you were smart. I mean, you were a nurse, you went through nursing school. So I knew you were intelligent. But I didn't know if you were going to be able to take all this information and run with it like you did.
I didn't know if
And-
I was going to be able to
and
either, to be honest. When I first came in, I was like,
I mean, if
I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But I think it takes a special type of person,
yes,
for sure.
I will tell you that I don't think that just anybody could do what you did.
Mhm.
So I believe there's a separation between men and boys, and you definitely proved to be a man in this situation.
Yeah, those early days were interesting to
So-
say. I remember when I came on, and you were like, I was at your house, and we were doing like these crash courses until midnight, 12:30 in the morning.
Yes.
My wife's calling me, "Where the heck are you?" I remember that. And
We
you're
were
trying to
going through all
explain
the
and show me
details.
everything, and we're setting up jobs together, and then it was just crazy. And then we were like, I feel like it was the first month in. I was like still trying to get the reins on everything, and you're like, "Okay, I'm headed to Poland. I'll see you in a few months." And I was like, "Wait a second." I was like, we got a whole company going, and by then the company was really starting to. I mean, it
Pick
was.
up and going,
I mean,
yeah.
we were on a straight vertical climb as far as business goes at that time. So it was crazy. Especially those early days for me.
So what was it? I mean, you built this company from zero, and
Yeah.
then you kind of handed it over, but you didn't. I remember whenever I first started as a sales rep, you were handing it over, and you weren't really too sure about a couple things. How was it whenever you finally did take a step back and let Anthony really run with his ideas? How was it watching that go on from what you had built, and then kind of he didn't really change lanes completely, but he did do things a little differently compared to you,
Well, Anthony is new generation.
right?
He's very ambitious. He has actually more fire and energy than I did towards the end. And that's exactly what we needed for this company. We needed someone with a vision, hunger for progress, and uh, ability and attitude that failure is not an option. Um, and we did that by actually Anthony had to financially invest in the company heavily.
Mm-hmm.
And that was for purpose because I knew that if somebody was going to financially invest into something heavily, there's not going to be an option for failure because this had to work. And Anthony did that. But
Every last crumb I gave to
as
this man.
we,
I was like, hey, here's it all, you know.
yeah,
I bet, you know, it was I had followed you for a while and I respected and I watched from the outside.
you were actually a customer.
Yeah, we've talked about that before,
Yeah,
how I was a
so-
customer and I believed, and I think that's important. You have to believe in what you're doing,
Yes.
believe in the vision. So I seen it and I was willing to quite literally bet every dollar I had to jump on board.
And that's exactly what you did.
And I believe also there's something there when you're saying, like, you know, buying in, not just buying in mentally, but, you know, literally buying in. There's
Yes.
something to that because you could hire probably, you know, at the time, you could have probably just hired a CEO.
Yes, but that's not what I was looking for.
But based on,
Yeah.
you know, some of the experience that I've had, you know, without the ownership, without putting, you know, because a CEO, you could have hired a CEO and they could quit within 2 weeks and went on about their life, got a different job.
Right.
But when you invest and
Because they have options, you know,
yeah,
but you have no options. And that's exactly,
Yeah.
I knew that was the only way that somebody was going to be able to, I had to be a way to separate the men from boys.
yeah, you got to be able to
Because
go
I invested
all in.
a lot of time, a lot of effort into what we've built. And I didn't want to just hand that over to somebody that had an option to just walk away.
So,
Yeah.
so was that your? Because you mentioned that
Well-
was it the first few months he went to Poland?
Yeah,
So
I had about a
whenever
month.
you
month of
whenever
training.
you seen him really step forward and take that, was that your okay? I can finally relax, or
No,
was that later?
no, it was
You were
later.
still nervous even being in
Yeah.
Poland.
Yeah, of course I was. I was watching over everything, and I had to learn how to step back because at the very beginning, you know, I would get involved in every little process. I would get involved in every little conversation, and then after a while, I was kind of catching myself. It's like, wait a minute, Daniel. You know, Anthony can handle this.
Right.
Just learn how to slowly step back and just kind of watch it. And every now and then, I mean, you guys will see that I'll come in the chat and I'll say something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm only doing that to hopefully help but not hurt, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
And but yeah, it took a little while to make sure because I was always like, you know, I was afraid that if I miss something or if we miss something, we're talking about somebody's roof.
Mhm.
Yes,
And
sir.
that it's a very important part of our home, and we cannot make these mistakes, whatever they are. We can't have them. So I wanted to make sure that all of our details were, you know, done. And but after a while, I've got very confident with the team that we together, and then later Anthony, brought into the company.
So
and
so you didn't really have a okay, I can relax. It was just a gradual.
it was
over
gradual.
time. Okay.
Yes,
I
I would
definitely
say it's
gradual.
extremely, because it took you about what I'd say about a year, maybe year and a half, until you were kind of like. I feel like there was definitely a transition where the first,
Yes.
which by the way, I think is super important. You know, if you were literally just, you know, sold a portion of your business and just like, okay, have a great day, and didn't care, I don't think Daniel's Roofing would have even been successful up until that point. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like you have to, and this goes for people that you know, if you start a company, because a lot of people's end goal is to build a company, you know, maybe sell it or do something so they can retire. And I think it's important if you ever do that to still have some oversight to make sure, because you have an obligation to like your crews and you have an obligation to the homeowners to make sure that your company is upholding the values and the standard that you set in place to make sure it will succeed long term.
Yes, and that's what it's very important. So, because if Daniel's Roofing was going to continue on, I wanted to make sure it would stay where the integrity is good, where it's honest, where it's quality, safety standards are there to make sure it's done right. And you've nailed every single thing that I think you can make a list on. You've done tremendous to make sure that we're doing that.
It's
So
all
very proud of Anthony and actually all of our entire crew.
Yeah, we got great guys.
Yeah,
We do.
it's all really tough. What key points would you make to a business owner who is trying to grow their business of stuff that like highlights that you would look for within a team?
Well, first of all, you need to know your business yourself. That way you know the details of what is required to do whatever it is you're doing. And then once you know that, then of course you can train people and then you can be there to kind of make sure that it goes properly. And then also have trust in the people, integrity, that that you kind of have faith that they're going to be able to do this and grow without you they're micromanaging it.
Yes, sir.
Something I really liked about when I partnered up with you originally, I felt like it, and this comes to the trust side, I felt like at any point I could take $100,000 and sit in front of you, and I would not have to worry it ever about that money like disappearing.
Right.
You know, I think trust like that
That's
is
huge.
important for the whole team.
Yes.
You know, because when you get all these people and everybody's dabbling in the money and you're dealing with customers and you're dealing with their finances and you're dealing with their homes, you have to be able to trust that people are going to have integrity and not steal, not skim, because you hear these crazy stories.
Oh yeah.
About people coming in and, you know, slowly siphoning money out of the company. And so I think it's important when you're partnering with someone, and everything's a partnership. If when you're hiring people, you're partnering with that person to help run your company. Even if they don't have ownership per se, I feel like you have to have that same level of trust with every single person you put in place, or you know you can fail.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, when you look at partnerships in general, I mean, they're very difficult because you're
Challenging.
taking two different people with two different characters and you're combining them. It's kind of like a marriage in a way. And then you're trying to portray and continue on with the same mission that maybe one or two different people started, and now you're continuing that mission together, and it takes a lot of challenges to overcome.
Yeah.
But I feel like you've been heaven sent my way because you've nailed everything. You've done really well, and I am just so proud, so blessed to to have this company flourish and do really well and help a lot of customers daily, and I feel good about it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm very very happy about what we have together accomplished.
Yeah,
Definitely.
no, it's been amazing, and I do think so. You said something earlier. You said it's important for an owner to know all the individual jobs essentially inside of the company.
Yes.
So and I'll agree because I think I came in at a good time actually, even though it was crazy because it was honestly it was a culture shock to me, like coming on and like trying to learn how to run a business for the first time. But I would definitely say, you know, I came on at a good time because I was able. It was before we had all of our staff that we have. And we didn't have a sales manager, we didn't have production, we didn't have. You know, we had Diana answering the phones, but she was working from home. We didn't have, had one rep at the time. So when I first bought in, I was able to go out and look at the job sites, inspect. I was able to be a salesman for a while. I was running production and running sales and running out and bidding jobs myself. So I was able to see the sales side, and I was able to see the production side, and able to see the management side before I stepped more into where I'm at now, where I'm kind of just running, making sure the company flows in the right direction.
That's right.
So I do think that's important for people at home. If you're wanting to buy a business, I think you should shadow for a while probably and go learn all the individual roles. Don't just lead from the top. You should know all the individual stuff, and maybe go put a roof on, too, so you know how hard it is. And we still have to set that up, by the way. We need to get our office staff. We plan to go out and do a free roof for someone.
After talking to Daniel, I think I'd rather do metal.
Yeah, I don't know. Metal roofs are challenging, but
they are challenging. It's like a puzzle.
Yeah, I think that it's important for everybody to understand all the individual roles on a job. What's some advice you would give to someone that's wanting to maybe step back like you did and start their own company or buy a company? What's just some advice you would give them?
Well, first of all, you need to understand that when you either buy into a company or you start your own company, make sure you're doing it for the right reason. If you're thinking that you're going to start a company or build a company because your job is hard, because where you're working right now, or you're maybe working too many hours right now, and that's the reason you think you're going to be able to take off any time because you're on your own time, think twice about that, because when you build a company from scratch, you're going to have to, yes, you are flexible. Yes, you can make your own schedule. But just remember that your success of that company, your paycheck, your ability to promote and build on what you're starting depends on you. So you have to be okay with putting in lots and lots of hours and do whatever it takes. If it means getting up at 3, 4 in the morning and staying till midnight, if that's what you have to do, you have to be willing to do that.
Exactly.
When you're working for a job, whether you're in the hospital, medical field, or any kind of industry, a lot of times you go there, you do what you're told. When you clock out, you leave all that there, and you come home, and your mind, in a sense, is now free. But when you start your own company, you kind of have to take all those little details with you if you want to make it a success. And you have to be okay with it. And then on top of that, you should be okay. You should be so, you almost have to be so in love with what you're doing that you do not feel like you're going to work. You're actually doing something because you're passionate about, measuring this roof or helping this customer or whatever the industry is. You should not feel like you're going to work, but you're actually working on a project, or you're working on this idea that you have. And when you're putting all that together, you don't care about the hours because you don't feel like you're at work. You're basically doing it. There's nothing else you would rather do.
Yeah.
And, and that's how I felt many times. I loved what I was doing. It's just, it got to a point, it's like, how to keep this thing flowing with the amount of volume that our guys wanting to work. How long can you do it by yourself?
Yeah. Do you think you should have gotten help sooner?
It definitely would help, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely would help.
That's one piece of advice that I think I would give.
But that's tricky, because having the wrong help is worse than no help,
I agree.
And if I had someone helping me that didn't have the same mission or goals in mind, then I feel like maybe that wouldn't be so beneficial.
For sure. But I do think, obviously hiring the right people matters a lot. But I would say, because I came on and I didn't really hire anybody to take any of the roles for probably about a year and a half, I think.
Yeah.
And at that time, it was already too much. Like it was, I was doing 16-hour days every single day. And I was working, it was before we had our office location. It was at the kitchen table.
Kitchen table.
But that was daylight. It was like craziness. And then I would stop for dinner and then I'd just keep working. And that was until about 11-ish every night. I mean, that was every single day. So I would say for other small business owners out there that feel, because you can start to feel kind of trapped after a while.
Yes.
And you're on you leave your 9 to 5, but now you're back in the rat race again. Like
Actually, worse.
Chasing your tail, yeah.
Yeah, worse because it's not. It's 5 to 9
Yeah.
versus 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I remember talking to you on the phone going over estimates multiple times at 9, 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at night. I mean,
But you have to be the type of person that's willing to do that when it's necessary.
Because think about it, every single day right now that we wake up, there's like one or two roofs going on somewhere. So
Zane put a hat on him, so said don't.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
good Lord.
hey, Zane's a good guy. He does a good job for us.
That's funny.
So
That's funny.
Moving more towards the fun side of things, not just business, because there are some good times we have. I mean, I've never laughed so hard in my life than standing right here in the office a few times.
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's got to do with the people you work with.
Yeah.
You know, we've got some great people with great sense of humor, and I think our people like to have fun too. So, and we've been to a few events, we've been to parades, we've been to different community events that we've represented our company. But no, I don't feel like I went to work. We went to have fun.
No,
You know,
it's definitely more fun of a
Like,
work environment than
every
what
parade we've
most
been
people
to
get
this
to
year,
have.
we've been to like 4 parades.
Something like that. It's been a
Yeah,
lot of
it's
parades.
4
There's
or
a lot of
5.
parades this
There's
year.
several.
We've handed out so much candy,
Yeah.
and I mean, I would do it over and over because when you're watching these kids,
Yeah.
are just they're like, I mean, you can see the sparkles in their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
They're picking up the candy, you know. They
Yeah,
love
I
the
think
candy.
like when we're doing
So
when we're out in the community like that, because we
Yeah.
do a lot of, aside from the parades, we do several parades. We do some fairs and a lot of community events. I'll say whenever we're doing that, do you feel like you're at work?
no,
Yeah,
of
see,
course
I
not.
never feel like that. It's
No,
just
this
like,
is just something we're doing, you know.
yeah. And it's cool being able to, so that is the positive side of business
Yeah.
ownership. When you get when you can hire the right help and you're not just like running ragged, you get to step back and start doing projects like this where you're out in the community. You can make your whole life. I feel like I've made the business in my life one. So like I take my family to the parades. Like you see,
Right.
I got little kids in the little cars and
yeah.
people love it and the kids love it. They love throwing candy and we go on these events to where we go learn. Like we go, to Florida and these different places and we're learning roofing. But then we get to have like my family come and then it'd be almost like a vacation too. So you get to marry. I think it's important to marry your work and your life together. People talk about work-life balance and things like that, but I think it's more important to have, it should all be together. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to do this and try to separate it all
And
so
there's
much.
times that I took my boys on the roof. They're in town in Marble Hill,
Yeah.
and I've taught them the basic skills how to install roofs, and they know how.
Hopefully our workers' comp isn't listening to this. They've never been on the roof.
Hey guys,
Let's get
listen,
into workers' comp. Let's talk about insurance.
hands down.
We need a
Oh,
whole
man.
If
another
our
episode
kids
for
do
that.
not learn how to do these basic skills,
Yeah.
who will?
Yeah,
You know,
I'm excited for
This
our kids.
country is needing young people
Mm-hmm.
to be able to use a hammer, use a drill, use a skill saw safely. Do carpentry, do different basic skills.
Yeah.
Even our president would approve. We need them skills,
Yeah.
hands on.
Yeah, with the technology, it's going to be interesting what our children end up facing, job wise, because a lot of the jobs people have are going to be kind of replaced in a sense. But I say the trades, HVAC, plumbing,
You always gonna have
roofing, construction.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a need there. So I would tell the people at home, like, I guess everybody can do what they want, but our kids, I'm going to push them into the trades for sure. I want them to be, they don't necessarily have to be business owners if they don't want to. I'm going to, push them to do that. But I would say being skilled in some type of trade will be, moving forward, is going to be one of the
Be
best.
able to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's important.
We lose a lot of that, I think, through the generations here.
Another beautiful thing about our company now that we're actually systematically have been doing for a few years now, a little portion of our company profits go into a separate bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have money set aside for St. Jude's. It's kind of, I feel like for a company to be blessed, they almost have to give back. It's
sure.
something that you just naturally do.
Mm-hmm.
And our company proudly does that every single week. We simply put money back, and then we have money available for those different organizations that are much needed and they're good. And it's just automatic, and I think it's a great thing.
No, and I don't even feel like it's like taking money out of our pockets when we do that. It's like
It's just part of
when
us.
it's like something you should be doing.
Yeah.
Like we're called to give when
Yes.
you're in a position to do so. And I'll plug in here just because it's fresh. We actually have our annual turkey giveaway coming up.
Awesome.
We just met with Harps yesterday. They came in, and we're going to be getting our coupons again. So I'll plug that in a little bit, for the folks at home listening and watching. We will be doing the turkey giveaway again. You can get a turkey or ham, and we'll have the coupons here at all. I'll make a Facebook post.
Government right now is things shutting down and stuff.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people out there hurting. So
yeah. And so we're in a position, and we've been extremely. I know we've talked a lot about the hardships, obviously, because there's a lot of that in the reality of business goes, but. We've been extremely blessed here, and we try to give back as much as we can. So it's a blessing to be able to do so. So the turkey giveaway we do every year, and we do have that coming up. So call us if you're in need
of a turkey.
So that's coming up.
Yep.
I wasn't planned for that, but now that you talked about it, so let's talk about what's something that you are most proud of. With Daniel's Roofing.
Proud of.
What's something you can sit back and just be like, man, obviously the company, obviously we have dreams for this being bigger. But sitting back, I never knew when I came on that it would be what it is today. What do you think from the early days you could go back and look forward to today? What's something you could be like, man, that's.
Well, right from the beginning, I knew that I could have a big part of something small. Because our growth was limited by keeping it small,
Mm-hmm.
or I could have a small part of something big. And I believe the better choice is to have something small, or have a small portion of something that can bless more.
Yeah.
And I believe that by allowing the company to grow, we can help more people.
For sure.
And we've done exactly that.
Yeah.
So, the other day I was driving towards St. Louis, and I was driving, and there was one sign, Daniel's Roofing. Kept on going. There's another one, and another one,
Mm-hmm.
and another one. I think there was like 4 signs that were in the ground.
On roofs that we did, or?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome.
So when the signs are in the ground, most likely it means that we're about to or just done the roof, if you look around close. And that's something that I think I'm definitely proud of.
Seeing your name out there everywhere.
Yeah, and it's not about, you have to call a company something.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just that I'm Daniel, but it's just the fact that it's a good service, and it's a brand that I'm proud of, our team's proud of, and our customer feels good about.
Yeah.
And
I see a lot of companies kind of stuck. Obviously we see there's companies much larger than us, and there's smaller companies too. But I see a lot of people that were similar to how you were. They're like a mom and pop type size. and you get stuck at a crossroads. And some people choose to push it and make it larger and hire help, and some people are fine with just running it by themselves and not letting it get too large and turning away work. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. But I will say, as you grow, if you are able to step back a little bit and allow your company to grow, because the owner can really hold the company back.
Right.
You can be your own worst enemy from the company perspective, because you can really choke it down if you're not willing to. And some people don't want to, but I will say, once you allow it to grow, you're able to help more people. Because you can't, if you're doing if you're a smaller company and you're not doing a whole lot of business, it makes it very hard for you to give back and do free roofs. We did 2 already this year, and we plan to hopefully do another. And like you said, St. Jude's and these other great things that we do. It's hard to do that if you're barely doing any business.
Right.
So I think
when you have volume,
yeah,
and the amount of work that we do now, that helps us to accomplish so much more.
Yes.
We're able to help more people. We have more happy people, more customers. I think overall it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right.
So I'll say, I know it's easy to get these conversations kind of go on. We can talk forever, but
Yes.
we're gonna try to wrap it up here a little bit. So I want to take a moment, and we'll probably bring you back on in the future to elaborate more and talk more business. And that's kind of our plan. We want to talk more business strategies and that kind of stuff with you, because I know you've been along for a lot of that journey. And maybe we can talk marketing, different things. But for today, I want to say, thank you for believing in us and allowing us to, or myself. I'll just speak on behalf of myself. Allowing me to come on and kind of take this and build it into what it is today. And we're proud, or I'm proud, to carry the name forward. The name of Daniel's Roofing, and keep pushing this thing. And we have a lot of big dreams and ambitions we look forward to for in the future here. So I just want to say thank you, again for everything, really.
You're welcome, and same back, likewise.
Yep.
Because we couldn't do what we're doing without all of you guys either. I can't be one.
It takes an army at this,
So,
anymore. It's an army
with
to run
logistics and everything that we have going on. It takes a team, and
Yeah.
I believe we have one of the best in our area.
I agree. Yeah, we've built a good name and a reputation here, and it's been a long journey to do
Yes.
that. And we plan to keep doing that. And then obviously, we dream of being in other markets. And I always say Daniel's Roofing worldwide.
Yeah.
You just never know. You never know.
Common name, common brand.
Yeah.
And Daniel's Roofing, the reason it's Daniel's Roofing is because I wanted it vague enough where it's a name, but I wanted a name to represent it.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that they can look back to, hey, there's integrity behind that name.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies like that.
So,
Walmart, Menards, these are all people. Drury, all these big names. They're not just random ASMR roofing or whatever the name is. They just Black Label Roofing or whatever. This is an actual tied to a person. It started with good roots, good integrity. And it's kind of awesome.
It's kind of a identity of a company.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's and I think that's a good thing. So,
yep. Well, Daniel, I want to say thank you again for coming on. For the folks at home, I know we had a little schedule change. I know last week we were supposed to have a guest on today, and unfortunately had some sickness and things going on. So next week we will have, it should be, Caleb. Caleb should be coming on. So for the folks at home, I want to say thank you for tuning in to another episode of Roof Talk. We had Mr. Dan the Roofing Man with us today. So
yes,
pleasure having you on, Mr. Daniel.
Happy
and
blessed.
I will say tune in next time. Thank you, guys.